Hey everyone, this is Walter, and we're back here with something I haven't done in a long time, I think. Reddit Let's Not Meet is a place to read spine-tingling, unusual, terrifyingly true stories about people you never want to meet again. Yeah, so the story has to be true, hopefully, and it has to not lead to any violence. And I'm sure there's a subreddit for true stories that do. Well, let's get started with stories from Reddit Let's Not Meet. Guy threatened to call the police on me and stalked me because I didn't want to have sex with him. So about 6 months ago, I was at a dentist visit and started chatting with a guy in the waiting room. He seemed really nice and was super cute, so we kept talking for a while afterwards. We exchanged numbers and agreed to make plans later. Red flag number 1. He sent me 30 pictures of himself immediately after we left. I thought that was odd. God, that may be red flag number 1, but it's a bit of a nuclear red flag. I can't imagine putting up with 30 messages of any type from someone right after I meet them. Flash forward, we make plans to have dinner a couple days later. He picks me up from my house. Not a smart idea. Dinner and conversation is good, but he tells me an odd story. Red flag number 2. He said that last year he got in a shootout with his ex-girlfriend's brother. I asked him why they started shooting. He said he had no idea. I asked a few more questions about what happened, and he swore that he drove to her house to drop off things after they broke up and her brother just started shooting at him, so he returned fire. So after that weird story, he says he has 2 tickets to see a soul singer we both enjoy for the following night. I agreed to go. He takes me back home and I give him a quick kiss. I pull away and he tries to kiss me again, so I give him a kiss on the cheek and then pull away. He leans in for another kiss and I say goodnight and go inside. Red flag number 3. After he got home, he texts me and asked, "I thought you really liked me. Why didn't I get a longer kiss?" I told him I like to take things slow and a quick kiss is all I wanted for a first date. He proceeds to send me more pictures of himself. You barely even have to meet this clown and he's already showing how controlling he can be. Dating someone like this would pretty much be hell. So the next day he picks me up for the concert. It's amazing and I really enjoyed the show. I let him know beforehand that I had a flight to catch at 4 a.m. the next morning, so I wouldn't be able to hang out afterwards. Red flag number 4. While he's taking me back to my place, he asks if I want to get a hotel room with him for the night. I reminded him about my flight. He then proceeds to ask me if I want to get freaky in the car. I couldn't believe a grown man asked me that. I said no. I was actually attracted to him and could see us hooking up, but I had already told him I didn't have a lot of time. Then the final straw is he asks if he can come inside. What about "I don't have the time tonight"? Did he not understand? At that point I knew I didn't want to see this guy again, because I hate saying no more than once, especially to sex. I say goodnight and go inside. About 10 minutes later, I leave out again to grab something from the store and pick something up for a neighbor. While I'm driving, I hear my FaceTime going off, but don't answer. Once I get in the store, I see he has called me 10 times in a 5-minute span. I call him back, thinking I left something in his car. Him: "Where did you go?" Me: "To the store, why?" Him: "I thought you were busy and needed to pack." Me: "I am, I just needed a few things. Can I help you with something?" Him: "It's not nice to lie. You said you're too busy to go to the hotel, but now you're at the store." Me: "Well, I don't owe you an explanation of where I need to go. I'll text you later." I hang up, get what I need, and head back to my house. When I get back, I notice he is still parked out front. It's been 45 minutes since he dropped me off, by the way. I ask him if everything is okay. He shouts from his car window. Him: "Where did you go?" Me: "I told you I went to the store. Have a good night." I wave goodbye and walk my stuff inside. I'm pretty creeped out at this point, but I figured he would leave. I go back to go to my elderly neighbor. I go back outside and he's gone, or so I thought. I drive to my neighbor's around the corner and drop her stuff off. When I go to get back in my car, I hear a car racing at full speed behind me. He followed me there. He pulls right beside me, rolls his window down and shouts. Him: "What are you doing?" Me: "Why did you follow me?" Him: "Because I know this whole area. What house did you come out of?" Me: "That's none of your business. Please don't follow me." Him: "If you don't tell me what house you were in and what you were doing, I'm going to call the DEA and police and have them surround this whole block." Me: "What are you even talking about? Our date ended over an hour ago. You should have left." He drives away super fast. At this point I realize this guy is nuts. I call my brother and ask him to stay on the phone with me until I get back home. When I get back to my house, he is parked out front again. My brother tells me to drive to the nearest police station. I started driving and the guy starts following me again. As I pull into the station, he realizes where I went and finally drives away. I explained to an officer what happened and he offered to escort me home. When we get back to my house, guess what? Mr. Crazy Pants is parked out front again. He sees the officer behind me and drives away again. The officer offered to stay for a couple more hours. I didn't block Mr. Crazy right away because I wanted to be aware if he says anything else scary, so I would have that for the police report. About an hour later, the officer knocked on my door and made me aware that the guy was trying to sit at the corner and was probably trying to park outside my house again. The officer pulled him over and told him to leave. Thankfully, the officer also escorted him out of my neighborhood. After that, he texts me. Him, I see you're sneaky. I threatened to call the police on you because you were being a sneaky liar and you called them on me? Real disrespectful. I should have called them on you first. Me, I didn't call the police. I went to the police station because you were following me. Him, I was following you for my safety. You lied about where you were going. You know what I've been through. Me, if you weren't feeling safe, why didn't you just go home? Him, why didn't you tell me where you were going? At this point, I stopped responding and turned my phone off. The next morning, I checked my phone and he has sent me over 50 texts with memes about trust and respect. I get ready for my flight and my uncle comes to pick me up to file a police report. After that, I blocked him. For the next week, I had my uncle or another male friend escort me to my house. I never saw him again, but he did text me from a texting app, saying that he loved me and wanted to start over. I blocked him again and haven't heard from him since. The most valuable lessons I learned was trust my instincts. I knew something was off about him, so I should have never agreed on a second date. Also, never ever let someone that you just met know where you live or your address, especially if it's a first date. I always follow that rule, but I let my guard down this time, against better judgment, and I could have been harmed. Guy who threatened to call the police on me for not having sex with you? Let's not meet again. This one sounds wild, so let's go with it. New roommate turned out to be my other roommate's aunt's stalker, and also he left his piss pants in the middle of our main hallway. Hi, I made an account just to post this here. The last 48 hours of my life have been nuts. I am a 25-year-old non-binary person renting a 4-bedroom house. One of my roommates is my boyfriend, and the other is my best friend of 10 years. We will call her Tracy. We've been looking for a new roommate, and because of the way this situation turned out, we have determined that I am no longer allowed to be in charge of looking for roommates because I am not judgmental enough and am known to ignore red flags. I will start from the beginning, which is the house showing. So our new prospective roommate showed up for the house showing and introduced himself. He definitely seemed strange at first, but I wrote it off as him just being eccentric. The main red flag was at some point he randomly said something to the effect of, "And I will not bring meth into your house because I am not on meth. I hate drugs and I see them as a scourge on this entire country." I did not ask, so I was immediately weirded out, but my boyfriend and the roommate who was moving out also met the guy and they both thought that apart from that he seemed normal. He didn't look like a stereotypical meth head. His skin was clear and he was kind of chubby. We thought that maybe he thought I was a meth head because I look a little bit scary. I have green hair, a 1-gauge septum, and 6 facial piercings. In addition, my roommate who was moving out turned out to be hiding a cat, which made the house stink like cat piss, which I have been told is what meth smells like. Also, the town this guy was coming from is known for meth and crack, and he seemed to be explicitly trying to get away from that town. So I thought that maybe he was afraid of ending up in a situation where he was living with drug addicts and was trying to suss us out that way. Giving him the benefit of the doubt was my first mistake. Me and Tracy were both wigged out about the entire thing, but we were kind of desperate for a roommate, and all the other people responding to my listing either were not great fits or were even sketchier than this guy. So we let him move in. Skip to the move-in date. He brings an old man to help move his stuff. He then proceeds to make the old man move all of his things by himself up the stairs while he sits there, including a refrigerator, by himself. New guy signs the lease. Immediately after signing the lease, he informs us that he did not introduce himself using his real name and proceeds to tell us his real name. This man was not transgender, so the only reason I can think of as for why he initially gave us a fake name is probably so he could avoid having us run a background check. After this, I had to go to work. Throughout my shift, Tracy sends me a message that the guy is weird, but her responses are vague and I didn't find out what happened until I got home. Here's what she told me. The new guy goes to the bar after signing the lease and comes back after being kicked out before 9 p.m. The bar he went to is a biker bar that is notorious for being rowdy. It's hard to get kicked out there. You pretty much have to do something heinous or you have to be creeping on the women there in order to get kicked. When he comes back, he's drunk off his ass and says, "The men there must have been intimidated by me." Sounds to me like he was creeping then. Before this, I had told the new guy that our landlord is coming the next day to fix some things in the house. When the new guy came home, Tracy reminded him that her landlord was coming the next day. He became extremely angry to the point that he was flailing his arms and she thought he was going to start breaking things. Tracy was so uncomfortable that she almost went to go wake up my boyfriend in the other room. Eventually, the new guy did calm down, however. Yeah, this is completely insane. I mean, I could definitely picture putting up with this type of behavior from a roommate, but on the first day from someone you don't even know? Such a lack of respect, it's like getting slapped in the fucking face. There is a beanbag next to my couch, and Tracy is sitting on the beanbag with her legs slung over the armrest of the couch. At first, the new guy sat on the couch. He begins to read off poetry that he wrote to her for an entire hour and a half, all of which is literally just streams of consciousness about how he wants all junkies to die. Afterwards, he starts telling her how beautiful she is over and over and literally lays his head down between her legs. She's trying to ignore him and he won't stop asking if she fell asleep. Every time she moves, he gets closer. Then he starts inviting her to his room for beer. Eventually, she just gets up and goes to her room at 11 p.m. This man harassed her for 2 entire hours. I thought that was everything, but then she tells me that she sent this guy's picture to her mom, who then sent this picture to everyone she knows because she's from the town he was previously living in. It turned out that he'd been stalking Tracy's aunt for an entire year and that he's banned from the bar she works at because he goes there and threatens to kidnap her. She literally has to be escorted out, not only by workers, but the customers escort her to her car sometimes. So we tell our landlord. Luckily, our lease hadn't been finalized yet, so we agreed to kick him out. I call my mom to come over, and Tracy calls her brother for backup just in case things go south. Our landlord shows up and essentially tells him he needs to leave, and doesn't let the new guy get a word in. The new guy starts getting agitated and aggressive, so we called the cops and several officers showed up. Told the guy he had no legal standing as there was no lease. He introduced himself to us with a fake name, and he hadn't even been there for a full 24 hours, and he had to get out. The guy had to beg his sister to pick him up, and she was so unwilling to do it that she didn't agree until he offered to pay her $200. It's a 20-minute ride to where he was going. He left most of his stuff on our porch. When we went into his room, it smelled like cigarette smoke, and there was an empty pack on the floor, including not 1 or 2, but 7 empty Dr. Pepper cans, and garbage and crusty socks everywhere. This entire situation had me so stressed out that I didn't even notice that he had also left a pair of pissy shorts in the middle of the house's main hallway, and that was also the first thing you see when you walk into the house. They were there for an entire day, when he knew the landlord was coming. They were still sitting there when he left. I picked them up with a glove and put them on the porch for him to retrieve, but who knows if/when he will retrieve his things, because he came back earlier, touched his things like he was going to take them, and then just immediately left. All I have to say is that I am so relieved that we caught this before the lease was finalized, because this easily could have turned into a situation where me and Tracy were being sexually assaulted or worse. Thank you for listening to my story. Oh man, he's been there 1 day and has crusty socks everywhere? I guess that means he brought filthy laundry with him when he moved. And the theme today must be severe mental illness or something. I don't know exactly which charge, but this guy definitely belongs in prison for something. You reckon this was just a series of crazy coincidences? I feel like it can't be a coincidence with the stalking thing, because my mother is also friends with Tracy's aunt. I feel like he stalked my page and found out that me and Tracy have a connection with the aunt and moved in to get to her. If he didn't move in to get to the woman he's stalking, I think he moved in because that biker bar he went to is literally almost right next to our house, and he was excited to go get plastered and creep on women there every single day. There's far too many coincidences to be coincidental. He gave a fake name so nobody would know Tracy's aunt's stalker moved in with you. Okay, let me know if you liked the subject in the video today, because I don't think I've covered this in years. I did specifically look for ones about creeps, so it's like my usual content. Unfortunately, dating hell hasn't been very good, so that's something. Anyway, it's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say, make sure you let me hear it in the comments. I'll be reading them while the video is new. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I have 25k subscribers now, or some shit. And finally, big thanks to my amazing patrons who support me more directly over on Patreon. I'll be shouting them out in probably a nice guy video here very soon. Have a great day, everyone. And what was with that kiss after our first date? I thought you liked me.